so that this can be accessed after today's webinar. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our HomeFit webinar today. My name is Stephanie Osnes, and I am an aging program developer for Dancing Sky Area Agency on Aging, helping out Amy today. Just a real quick intro on Dancing Sky. We are one of 7 area agencies on aging in the state of Minnesota. And we are a program of the Northwest Regional Development Commission, as well as housing many programs and services, including the Senior Linkage Line. Our focus today is on the education of fall prevention and creating a safe, lifelong home. Our speaker, Jean, is an architect licensed in Minnesota and California, as well as a certified aging in place specialist with expertise in universal design. Jean will walk us through the AARP HomeFit guide and share his own experience about modifications that help people create a lifelong home. So welcome, Jean.
Welcome. Thank you, Stephanie. And I want to welcome and thank everybody for attending the seminar this afternoon. I do have a lot of information to cover, so hopefully I'll probably be going at a fairly quick pace. So I apologize if I'm kind of going great guns here, but anyway, again, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at ways that we can make your home more adaptable and usable, and discuss some different ways of handling that. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to jump right in and we'll get right into the program here. So right there we go. So what we're going to do today, then, we're going to kind of, like I said, our objectives, there's 3 objectives. What we would like to do is we want to recognize how our home can be modified to support changing needs and lifestyles, with making your home more adaptable, usable, and safe. Secondly, we want to determine which modifications are important for you for maintaining the lifestyle that you desire. And thirdly, we'd like to distinguish between the modifications that you can do yourself and those that is best left to a professional. So I guess the first thing I would want to do is define what aging in place is. I'm sure pretty much everybody attending has come across this term and probably knows, is familiar with the definition of it. But in case you haven't, aging in place is defined as the ability to live in one's home and community in a safe, independent, and comfortable manner, regardless of age, income, or ability. One thing I want to stress is that aging in place is always associated with people, senior citizens and such like that. However, again, you have to understand it's regardless of aging. So regardless of your age, by having your home age friendly, it benefits everyone. Now, another term that you may or may not be familiar with is called universal design. This is a term that's used more for people that are designers and architects in the building industry, as that does aging in place, is familiar with this terminology. But anyway, the definition is the design and composition of an environment, i.e. building or park or what have you, or a product, so it can be accessed, understood, and used to the greatest extent possible by all people, regardless of their age, their size, their ability, or their disability. One thing you want to be clear on, this is not a special requirement for the benefit only of a minority of the population. That deals with the Americans with Disabilities Act, deals with people with specific disabilities. This is more of a holistic approach in terms of benefiting the population. Lastly, the one that I really kind of like and really hits it on the head is from Mary Jo Peterson, and she's coined it as universal design strives to support the lifestyle we wish to live through convenience and support in subtle and beautiful ways. When it is done right, you don't know it's there until you benefit from it. So the way to think about it is aging in place is our objective. That's what we're trying to get to. Universal design is how we get there. So what we're going to be talking about, what I'm going to be showing you today, examples, I'm going to be showing you different products and some different ways of handling your home, are all universally designed ideas and products. So keep that in mind as we continue. So the way I've got this set up is I'm calling it What's Wrong with My House? And basically what we're going to be doing is studying these 5 different areas. We're going to kind of look at the main entry, the kitchen, the stairs, the bathroom, and then a few miscellaneous other items to consider for our home. So with that, we'll start with the main entry. Now, so basically, the first thing that you have to accomplish to make your home age friendly is you have to get into the front door. So what are some of the challenges that we find when we get into a typical home? If you look at the bottom right photo, you'll see a house, and you can see the number of stairs that you have to climb up to get to a landing. And the landing is generally quite small. And so if you're trying to open up the door, especially the screen door, you have to kind of get out of the way and be careful you don't fall down the stairs as you do that. Another problem that you can see is that there's just like a minimal overhang, roof overhang protection over the entry door. It gives you a little bit of protection from rain and such, but not a whole lot. And if you go up to the upper left corner, just another example, a different style home, more of a rambler. But again, you can see there's a couple of steps that you have to get on before you can get into to get into the home. And then again, the same thing, you've got about a 2-foot overhang all the way across for protection from the elements, which isn't really much. Then if you look at the lower lower left corner, is once we hit a landing, if you'll notice, you still have to go up one more step to get actually into the house. And that can vary anywhere from 2 to 7 inches, depending on the landing. And then lastly, in the upper right corner is just an example of a use of a typical doorknob to be able to get to open up the door to get into the house. So what are some things we can do to make this getting to the entryway more accessible? Well, the first thing you want to do is look at is possibly creating a walkway. A walkway is a very gentle way of getting up the stair, to the front door and avoiding having to use stairs. And generally, it works from the grade, so the grade of your lawn to the top of your floor. That difference can be 18 inches, I wouldn't say no, and maximum 24 inches. Now for a slope, what you want to have is you want to have for every 1 foot of rise, you want to have 20 feet of length. So if you go up 18 inches, you would need about 30 feet of length of walkway that gradually goes up to get to the front door to achieve this. And you can see, pardon me, that there's kind of 3 examples kind of showing kind of how they created retaining walls and such to be able to create that walkway to get to the front door. Now, anything greater than 24 inches, you're probably going to have to consider using a ramp. And I know a ramp is generally kind of in your situation where you are possibly having to use a wheelchair or what have you. But ramps are also helpful, even if you're just having trouble going up. Again, it makes it difficult to get up the stairs and such like that. The one thing that I mentioned, I forgot to mention with the walkway, which is nice too, is it works for anybody who is in a wheelchair, uses a walker, and also a young couple that may have a child in a stroller. Again, it's a very comfortable, gentle slope. Same thing for a ramp. A ramp is nice too, and it can accommodate all three kinds of conditions as well. It just addresses a more steeper slope. And the rule of thumb for that is for every foot of rise, you go back 12 feet. So that's kind of how you address that one. So again, if you've got 24 inches, you would technically need 24 feet of length of slope to be able to achieve a nice gentle slope up to the front door. And speaking of front door, you can see where they have actually integrated a ramp with kind of like a little deck area. I'm sure we've all seen ramps in the front entries of homes, and they pretty much scream, I've been added onto the house. So it really, if you're going to have a ramp, you might want to think about making it more architectural pleasing. And another reason why people use, if you'll notice, where ramps are in the front of the house, is because the front door is generally 36 inches wide, which can easily accommodate someone in a wheelchair. So that's kind of the reason why you see a lot of ramps located at the front entrance. However, there are different locations you can consider. If you have an older home, or if you have a home where you have a detached garage that's generally in the back of the house or on the side of the house, you could possibly integrate a ramp with a rear patio deck to be able to get to the rear. And maybe you have a sliding glass door that gets into the home that maybe can be converted, and you can go with a regular 3-foot wide door to make it easier to get in and out of. So that's one thing to consider. Another thing to consider is if you have an attached garage, 2-car or greater, and if you have a 2-car garage and you're willing to give up one of your car spaces, you can certainly get a ramp to work inside of a garage. I have found in some occasions, because of the distance from the bottom of the garage slab to the top of the floor getting inside, I've had to go a little bit steeper than the 12 and the 1 in 12 pitch. I've gone to like a 1 in 10 pitch, and I've even on a couple of occasions gone as steep as 1 in 8, which is would work, but you definitely would need somebody that have to assist you to get, if you're in a wheelchair, to get you up and into the home, unless you've got a powered wheelchair, then it makes it a little bit easier. So anyway, some other things to consider as far as the ramp is concerned. Now we're up to the front door, but we're not inside the house just yet. So what you want to do ideally is you want to have a landing that is a minimum of 5 foot by 5 foot. And the reason for that, we're kind of borrowing from the ADA, is to be able to, again, if somebody is in a wheelchair, to be able to do a 360-degree spin in that space, which usually can accommodate it quite easily. But another thing you would want to do is you would want to translate that 5 by 5 space and bring it up and to make it more of a covered open porch, if you will, to give you more protection from the elements. So when you're totally fully protected, if it's raining or if it's snowing, what have you, it's not falling directly on you as you're trying to open up the door to get inside. You can see an example on the left is an example of how a porch was added to the entryway to help define the entryway, but again, definitely to be able to create some protection. Now, in the metro area here down in the Twin Cities, if you notice in a neighborhood, if you look down the side of your house, you'll notice all the houses all line up in a nice little row as you're going down the street. That's because you have a front yard setback, and that can vary from city to city from 25 to 30 feet, just kind of depending on what city you're in. And generally all the houses are set right up to it. So you do not have the opportunity to be able to encroach that setback line without having to seek a variance. And in the past, it was very difficult to get a variance to do anything like that. But more and more cities are recognizing the need to have better protection from the elements at the front door. So a lot of cities have actually incorporated it into their zoning codes, allowing open porches for the entryway that can encroach the setback line. They have certain guidelines, everyone's a little bit different, but again, it makes it easier to be able to build this. And the biggest caveat is obviously the porch has to be open. You can't even put a screen. You can't screen it in or obviously put windows or anything like that in there. It has to be open on 3 sides. And so anyway, and if you do have to seek a variance, again, in a couple of cities where we had to go for a variance, they basically were very lenient and had no problem getting that variance. So every city's a little bit different. So you'd have to kind of look in your jurisdiction and see what you can and what's available to you. Now we're about ready to step into the inside of the home. We have one last thing to contend with, and that's the door itself. Earlier, I mentioned how the landing is generally lower than the floor of the house. What you want to do is you want that landing and the floor to be at the exact same level. And then by doing that, you would incorporate what they call a zero clearance threshold. This is a threshold that it's no great, the highest point is no greater than 1/4 of an inch. They do have some that are like 1/2 an inch, but they're kind of like a little slope flat and another little slope. So it just kind of depends. But if you go with the 1/4 inch maximum height, you're in good shape. And again, this is we're borrowing this from the ADA as well. So what's nice about this is, again, in worst case situation, if you're in a wheelchair, it's easy to roll over that threshold, again, using, or if you're using a walker, if you're using a stroller, or if you just want to step over it, again, it reduces the risk of tripping and falling. And then lastly, maybe most of you have already had this installed in your front doors, if not maybe in your interior doors anyway, are lever handles. I really like them. They're easy to install, and they really do come in handy, especially if you're bringing some groceries in and you can use your elbow to open up the door, as that example shows. So we're inside the house. So let's take a look at the kitchen now, and let's look at some of the challenges that we find in the kitchen. We'll start at the upper left corner, and we'll go clockwise. So the first thing we want to look at is the lighting, and especially in the older homes, you usually have just one light fixture in the center of the room, and then maybe you'll have another light fixture that's over the sink that's used on occasion. But basically, the main light is in the center of the kitchen. So it's really not enough adequate lighting. And then in the middle there, I think we've all done this at least once, especially for people that are more smaller in height, shorter in height, is trying to retrieve things from an upper cabinet shelf. And then over to the upper right, again, of the upper cabinet shelves in this particular example, when you open up a door, pardon me, you'll notice that they open up just a little bit wider than 90 degrees. This is very typical for these types of hinges. It's not terrible, but however, sometimes it can be kind of awkward if you're trying to retrieve something or take something out. Maybe you have to readjust your elbows so you're not banging the door as you're trying to take something in or out of the upper cabinet. If you drop down to the lower right corner, then is just an example of the use of door knobs. And then all the way to the lower left is just an example of as we get older, it becomes more difficult to retrieve things under the base cabinets. I think regardless of age, unless you're a small child, that they're the only ones that really benefit from a base cabinet. They can get in and retrieve things quite easily. But as we get older and taller, it becomes more difficult. So let's talk about lighting first. Now, if you are remodeling your kitchen, doing some extensive work in your kitchen, and you will be bringing in an electrician, I would say just, you can't have enough lighting. I would put as much ceiling lights as you can afford to put in. And then secondly, what you want to do is you want to also add lighting underneath the upper cabinets for task lighting. Again, it's additional lighting that brings you closer to your work surface. Now, if you're not doing a lot of, if you're not going to do any remodeling and don't want to bring an electrician in, there are third-party light fixtures out there that can either be adhesively or mechanically attached to the underside of the upper cabinets that are LED lights that can either be plugged into an outlet or can be worked off of a battery. I'm not a personal preference, that's up to you, of course, but I'm not a big fan of the ones that you plug into an outlet, only because you have to kind of look at a wire hanging down from the upper cabinet. And then also, if you don't have a lot of outlets to work with, and then you're having to unplug and then replug the outlets so you can use an appliance in its place. So I prefer the battery operated LED light fixtures myself. Now, another thing, again, is if you do have an island, and in this particular case, if you are remodeling and you're bringing an electrician, you want to, again, get that task lighting close to the island surface. So in this particular example here, you can go with pendant light fixtures to bring that down closer to the source. Now let's talk about upper and base cabinets. We'll start at the upper right corner, and we'll talk about the upper cabinets. There are a lot of third-party products available. One of the things I really like about the kitchen and bath industry is they've really embraced universal design, in terms of creating new products that are available to make our homes more age-friendly. In this particular example here, you can see a shelf system that actually works off of a hinge, where you can grab the handle and bring it down to you and brings it close to the upper cabinet to make it easier to retrieve and to put things back in the shelf. And then you just raise that apparatus back up in the shelf, close the doors, and you're off and running. In the upper middle, you can see that drawing. As I mentioned earlier about the 90-degree hinge, this is what they call a 160-degree hinge. And what's nice about this, it takes the door and gets it completely out of the way. This works not only for the upper cabinets, but in the base cabinets as well. So again, if you find yourself, or it's kind of cumbersome having that door in the way, you might want to consider the 160-degree hinge. Now, if we drop down to the lower right photo, we all have a situation where we have the corner where the two cabinets meet, where the L is. And there's always that one, trying to access that space is difficult, short of getting in your hands and knees and sticking your head in there to retrieve something. Well, again, the kitchen and bath industry has taken this into consideration. And there's quite a few examples. I'm showing you just one here, where this is a kind of like what I call a half lazy Susan, but I mean, it works off of a hinge where you can push it in, and then it swivels in and tucks right back into the corner there. And so it's quite a nice device. And again, there's many different examples available to you. But it's nice. The idea is to be able to bring the the shelving to you versus you having to go and retrieve the stuff on a fixed shelf. Then if you go to the middle there, again, is an example of how you can change your fixed shelving and making it more, working it off so it can be pulled out so you can easily retrieve items from it and then put things back and slide everything back in to close. Now, going all the way to the lower left, I've done some research and I found that from the standard off-the-shelf cabinetry all the way up to your higher end cabinets, what you're seeing is more drawers than doors. Drawers, again, are nice because, again, you're pulling it out and being able to retrieve things from the drawer and be able to set things in and then close the door. So again, if you're remodeling your kitchen, I would highly consider considering using maybe a combination, but more, I would actually say more drawers than doors. Now, one thing, and this is more custom level, so I'll share this with you. I had a client who was very petite. She barely was 5 feet tall. So what we did was you usually in all cabinetry, you have a 4-inch by 4-inch deep toe kick. And what's nice about that is that what we did in this case is we actually created like a step where you all she had to do is hit it with her toe and it would come out, and then she could use that and step on it to be able to use the countertop a little bit easier. One more thing I would like to say about the upper cabinets is that in the industry, the standard in the industry is 18 inches from the countertop to the underside of the upper cabinet. That is industry standard. However, what you could or should consider doing is dropping the base, the upper cabinets down to 15 inches. There's nothing says that you can't do that. The only thing that you have to be aware of is if you have any tall appliances, you want to make sure that they would be able to fit under 15 inches versus the 18 inches. Going back to that lower lower left photo, that we lowered those upper cabinets, although you can't really see it, to 15 inches to accommodate my client's shorter height. Lastly, up in the upper right, far left corner, getting my compass mixed up here, are just different types of hinges. What you want to do is you want to avoid using knobs. As we get older, I know I have this problem already developing where I'm getting arthritis in my thumbs. So to be able to grasp things, or having to use my thumb, is becoming more and more difficult. So by using what they call a D hinge, you can actually grab 1 or 2 or 3 fingers to grab it and be able to pull it out. The designs are numerous. Which one, if you prefer a longer one versus a shorter one, is totally up to you. The longer ones are nice only because you can get more fingers in there to be able to open and close the drawers. So let's talk about countertop heights. Now, again, the standard in the industry for kitchens is 36 inches high. And however, if you are remodeling your kitchen and you have the opportunity to maybe reevaluate things, and you might want to consider going with an upper cabinet, a countertop that is maybe 30 inches in height. 30 inches in height is basically the same height as your kitchen table. So it's what's nice about it, it gives you the ability to be able to sit down and prepare food or use it as a desk, whatever you might need it for in the kitchen. And then also, if you wanted to, you can raise the, and maybe a lot of you already have this in your home, to 42 inches, and you create kind of an eating bar situation. Again, if the countertop is wide enough, you can use it for prepping food as well. If you wish to stand and you're taller and versus using a standard 36 inches, you want a little bit something taller to do something, you have that ability as well. So a lot of different options there. Now, another thing you want to think about if you are remodeling your kitchen is you want to make sure that the countertop and your floor, the colors are contrasting enough. You don't want them to be a radical example here would be like using white on white or gray on gray, where the colors are so similar. If maybe you're trying to make a transfer from one countertop to the other one, if the floor and the countertop are too similar, you might not see the edge of that countertop, and you might set something on there and it might spill and fall and cause an accident. And then also, if you again add a lot of lighting, like I'm recommending in your kitchen, what's going to happen is you're going to be creating a lot of glare. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that the countertop and the floor surface, you want to go with a non-glare surface. And so again, it doesn't really matter what floor surface you use or countertop. You just want to make sure that's a matte surface. And then another thing you want to consider if you're replacing your flooring is you want to go with a slip resistant floor surface. I don't care if you're, again, whether it's wood, whether it's tile, ceramic tile, whether it's luxury tile surface, resilient sheet vinyl, whatever you want to use, that doesn't matter. You just want to make sure when you're talking to the sales person, representative, that make sure that whatever you choose is slip resistant. So if any water gets on the floor, that you're not apt to slip on it and fall. So now let's take a look at stairs. So what are the things that we typically see in stairs? We'll start at the right and move to the left. So at the lower right, you typically not unusual to see where the stair treads are the same color as the floor and the landing as you're going up the stairs. In the middle, there's always one single handrail going up that you use going up and down the stairs. And then off to the far left is very typically you'll have a light fixture at the top of the stairs landing, and usually have a light fixture at the bottom of the stairs, but you don't have anything in between at the stairs, which is where you need it. So what are some things that we can consider? But before we go to that, I want to make sure you understand that falls are the leading cause of injury related deaths among people 65 and over, and stairs are a major contributor to falls. So stairs are something that you really want to pay attention to. I don't have the time to talk about it because of the short period of time we have here today, but ideally, if you live in a two-story house and want to remain there, and you have the ability to do an addition to your home, going with putting a bedroom on the main level with a bathroom is a really ideal situation. So anyway, so back to stairs. As far as handrail, now the reason why you only see a handrail on one side of the stairs is because that's what the code requires for residential homes. If you'll notice in commercial, when you go to a commercial building and go up and down stairs, you'll notice that there's a handrail on both sides. That's what the code requires. Now, handrails on both sides are actually a very smart thing to do. And it's something that's very easy and very inexpensive to do, is to put a second handrail up. What's nice is the stairs are typically 3 feet wide, maybe 3 foot 6 inches wide maximum. So regardless of your height, to be able to, it's easy to extend your arms to be able to grab the handrail on both sides. My parents had a a walkout basement. That's where the garage was. So my parents had to go up and down the stairs to get to the garage. Well, my mother, as she got older, her balance was becoming a little more unstable. So for her to go up and down the stairs was becoming more and more difficult for her with one handrail. My father and I installed a second handrail, and just by having that, it made it much easier and much more safe for her to go up and down the stairs. So I really think it's a great thing that for you to consider doing. Now again at the bottom then, so what you want to do ideally is to try to contrast the stair treads from the landing and the top or the bottom of the stairs, the flooring. Again, it's just more for visual. So as you're walking up or down the stairs, you can see where the treads are, where the stair tread ends and where that landing or the bottom or top of the floor is. So it becomes an easier marker for you. Now, as far as lighting, again, as I mentioned, there's lighting on the top and the bottom and nothing at the source where you need it, at the actual steps. Now, starting at the right, as an example, if you were to bring in an electrician, there's a lot of different ways to handle it. And on the top there, you can see where they actually used a LED strip lighting and put it directly underneath the toe of the stair tread. Each tread toe sticks out generally about an inch, so you can. It's quite simple to be able to add a strip lighting to that. And then at the bottom there, then to the right is what I just call theater lights. I'm sure we're all familiar with this. For the obvious term I'm using is we've all seen them in theaters. So again, it's the idea of get that light source close to them. Now you're saying, okay, that's fine, Gene, but I don't want to go through the expense of bringing an electrician in. What other alternatives are available? Well, they have what I call a light puck, for lack of a better term. This is very similar to what I talked about earlier for the task lighting in the kitchen. These are, in this particular case, they're battery operated light fixtures that again can be adhesively or mechanically attached to the wall. And they work off of a motion sensor. So as you're going down the stairs, it senses your motion and then lights come on. And then after a period of time, the lights go off. So again, what's nice about it too, you can add as many of these types of fixtures along the run of your stairs to get as much lighting as you can. So again, there are sources available out there. Now, again, in my research, I was wondering, well, what's safer? Is it safer to have wood steps, or is it safer to have carpeted stairs? And at the end of the day, they didn't really make that much of a difference. They all were about equal in terms of percentage of falling and stuff like that. Maybe the only advantage carpet had is because carpet has a little bit of a cushion, so it might lessen the pain as you fall. But again, neither one of them is perfect as far as going up and down the stairs. So anyway, but if you've got wood stairs, and I'm not going to go through it, but you can just see there's a number of different ways that you can handle making getting some traction and being able to see where each tread is as you're going up and down the stairs. There are even paints, acrylic paints that are available that have a grit that's in the paint that you can actually paint on the surface of the wood treads to make it non-slip resistant. Now, as far as carpeting, I guess really the only thing I can advise there is just every once in a while, just kind of grab it and just try to pull on it with the tread and the riser and see if there's any pull. If it's loose, then you'd want to see if you can nail it down and get it more secure so it's a nice tight fit. Moving on to the bathroom. So you can see with this example here, I'm sure we all have it in our home. I know I do. as far as a typical, where you have a combination tub shower on one end, in the middle is the toilet, and then on the other side is a vanity with a mirror, and then with a vanity light above the mirror. So what are some things that we might want to consider doing if we're remodeling our bathroom, pardon me. Anyway, now the one nice thing about vanities, although they are changing now, and I'll get to that in a minute as far as height is concerned. They're generally, standard vanities are generally about 32 inches in height, 2 foot 8 inches from the floor to the top of the countertop, which is actually a good height for if you want to sit down and use the sink, or if you're a woman to put on makeup, or again, worst case scenario, if you are in a wheelchair. So it makes it easier. And then you can see with all 4 of these examples, how you can accommodate a wheelchair. Again, the vanities, like the kitchen base cabinets, all have like a 4-inch kick space. Well, if you cut that kick space out underneath the vanity sink and take flooring into that, now it becomes, you can wheel right up to it, or bring your chair right up to it and face forward as you're doing what you need to do in front of the vanity. So again, different ways of handling that. Down at the bottom there, you can see where the industry, I'm noticing if you go to Parade Homes and stuff like that, 36 inches is now becoming this kind of more of the standard for vanity heights. However, if you've got like a double sink situation, if you have where one spouse might be shorter and the other spouse might be taller, nothing says that you can't split the height. And maybe you have one sink that's at the 32-inch height and another sink that's at the 36-inch height. So different things that you can consider doing. One thing I want to talk about lastly is the lighting. Vanity lighting. Typically, like I mentioned earlier, the vanity lights over the mirror and shines down. However, that again creates glare, and when you're looking in the mirror, it becomes kind of difficult seeing what you're trying to do. Actually, a better location for the vanity lights is on either side of the mirror. So again, it gets more uniform lighting as you're trying to brush your teeth or whatever you're doing in the morning. Now let's talk about the toilet. Now again, the standard industry for a toilet height is 15 inches. That's very typical, and it's been that way for a number of years. They are now coming out, or there has been out for quite some time now, are 18-inch, 18 to 19-inch height, what they call comfort height toilets. Basically, it's the same height as a kitchen chair. If you sit on a kitchen chair, that's about the same height what I'm describing to you. And so it makes it easier to be able to sit down and to get off of the seat, similar to that as you would a kitchen seat. So, however, now again, if you're more petite and the 15 inch is fine, then obviously then just go with the 15 inch, but it is available. So I do like them. Now, as far as the shower heads and things to consider, what's becoming more and more popular is the ability to have a shower head that can also double up as a handheld shower, whereas you can either stand and you can make it easier to wash your body, or if in some cases, if you have to sit down and shower yourself. So starting at all the way to the right, you can see an example of what they call a handheld shower head. In a lot of cases fit in a saddle. In this case, it's just this one works off of a magnet, but the same principle. And then in the middle there, maybe you might have a situation where you prefer to have a fixed shower head and a separate handheld shower that you can turn on and off, you activate or unactivate as you need it. And then the one all the way to the right, all the way to the left, is the one that I kind of specify a lot of times when I'm doing aging in place homes and adapting homes and showers and such. What I like about this is a handheld shower that fits in a saddle, but that works off of a vertical bar that you can raise or lower the height of the shower head as you need it. Shower heads are generally about 6'6" to the center line from the floor is fairly typical. But what's nice about this, again, if you're more petite, or maybe you have children or grandchildren that are small, if they want to use the shower, they can actually take that shower head and bring it down and lower to their height to make it easier for them to use the shower head. Or again, if you can take it off and use it as a handheld shower. And then if there's someone's tall, then you raise it up and you've got that height as well. So I really like it, and it's not easy and not difficult to install. Although I'm not a plumber, so don't quote me on that. As another thing, let's talk about grab bars. Now, what's nice about residential, again, there's no code requirements for anything that I'm talking about today. Everything that we're doing, I'm borrowing some things from the America with Disabilities Act, because a lot of the things that they do benefits all of us, regardless of our abilities, like I mentioned earlier. But also they have stricter rules. If you ever gone into a commercial building and have ever used the restrooms, you'll see in the disabled stall, you'll have the grab bars are a certain height, they're a certain distance from the wall, they're a certain diameter, et cetera, et cetera. They're very specific. But what's nice about residential is because there are no fixed code standards, it can be anything it wants to be, in part of appearance as far as looks. So you can see they've actually integrated, the kitchen and bath industry has integrated the grab bar into more of a design element. So it doesn't really look like a grab bar, but when you need it, it serves as a grab bar. So you can see with the multiple different examples here that I'm showing you. One nice thing, all the way kind of in the middle left, or all the way to the left, but in the middle, you can see actually where you have a situation where the toilet kind of is in between the tub and the vanity. But again, if you're in a situation where you would need some kind of a grab bar to make it just easier to get on and off of the seat, that this is actually kind of works off of a hinge that can go up vertically and sit up tight against the wall. Then when you need it, you can bring it down, so it becomes more of a horizontal element that you can use to assist you to get on or off. And you can put one on either side of the toilet if you choose to. So it's a nice tool to have available to you. And then again, just another example of grab bars actually integrated as a towel rack as well. So a lot of great examples, lots of different colors, lots of manufacturers have a lot of interesting things. Google it and you can spend a day looking for grab bars. So let's take a look at a few other things here. Let's talk about carpeting. If you're considering replacing the carpeting in a room or throughout the house, some things you want to consider as you want to consider going with a tight woven carpet versus more of a plush carpet. And the reason for that, again, worst case scenario, if you're in a wheelchair or if you find yourself needing someone is using a walker, that more of a plush carpet, it creates more friction. It makes it more difficult to be able to get through that space using, when you get that resistance from the wheels. So what you want to do is have it nice and tight to make it easier to roll across. Now, if you go with the tight woven carpeting, you also want to make sure you do not go with a carpet pad. If you go with a carpet pad, you're basically back to square one. You're adding a cushion, you're creating friction and making it more difficult. And then at the bottom, what you want to do is, again, you want to choose a carpet that is more neutral, that is not competing or is too similar in color to your furniture. Again, it's kind of an extreme example. If you look at the one all the way to the lower right, it's got a lot of pattern to it, and the colors are such that it becomes difficult to see the legs of that chair. Whereas if you're not paying attention, you could accidentally get your foot caught underneath it, fall, and injure yourself. Now, here's something, I'm going to spend a few minutes on this because I think this is a really good product that I think everybody, if you don't get anything else today, I would ask you to take a look at this slide. This we're going to talk about is a swing clear hinges. Now, when you open up a door, your door is 2'6" wide, is very typical going into a bedroom, for an example. However, when you consider the hinge and then the thickness of the door, as you can see in the upper left photo, you are actually losing between 2 to 3 inches of a clear opening to be able to get in and out of that room. So as you can see in the upper right, my mother, when she was using a walker, you can see she has to really take a clear shot to get in, to maneuver without hitting her knuckles on the jambs or banging the door with her walker. So what's a better solution? Is the swing clear hinge. What it does, if you look at the lower left photo picture there, you can see where the hinge takes the door and completely gets it out of the way, capturing that 2 to 3 inches. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but if you're looking at the lower right photo now, you can see as my mother's getting in and out of that, or coming into the bedroom, you can just see that inch on either side makes it a little bit easier for her to get in and out with the walker and less likely to hit her knuckles on the jamb. I bring this up because what it would cost to go with like a 3-foot wide door. You have to remove the door. You're going to have to then take off all the trim. You're going to have to remove the door, jamb and head. And then you're going to have to cut the wall. Then you're going to have to add a new door and door jamb. And by the time you do all of this, you might be looking at, it could be a $2,000 to $3,000 job to replace one door. Versus these hinges cost about $12 a shot. So for $36, or even if they're $50, it's going to be a lot cheaper to do than if you were to have someone come out and have to cut up and put a larger door in there. So we did this, and my father was able to easily change the doors out himself, and it was very inexpensive to do. Now, one thing that was nice, kind of an interesting surprise, my mother, as her health got worse and her last years, she ended up in a wheelchair. And what surprised me, now obviously she's a petite woman, so a standard wheelchair, which is about 24 inches wide, maybe a little bit wider than 24 inches, I think. One thing that surprised me is we were able to get my mother in and out of her bedroom with that wheelchair, which because of the wide, the swing clear hinges in that door, which kind of surprised me. So now, obviously, if you have someone that's has a more that uses a wider wheelchair, that wouldn't work. But in her particular case, it did work. So I think it's something. It's a nice product that I was really surprised at how well it worked, and would highly recommend it to anyone to consider. Let's talk about electrical outlets. Now the code basically says for residential that no outlet shall be less than 12 inches from the floor. So if you go into any residential house, you'll find that it's pretty much 12 inches from the floor. And if you see with that example to the left is, it's not unusual for a electrician just to use what they call hammer height, which is about 12 plus inches from the head to the toe there of the hammer, and that's where they locate the outlets. So very, very typical. But what you want to do actually is you want to consider going with 18 to 24 inches from the floor. There's no height restriction as far as the outlet, only how low you can go with it. So if you're remodeling a room or adding an addition, definitely go with 18 to 24 inches, because it makes it easier as if you're plugging a lamp in, or if you're using a vacuum cleaner, what have you, it makes it easier. You're not having to bend down and strain as much. Matter of fact, the lower right drawing photo that you see, they actually located the outlet at the same height as the switch for the hall light, which is something you typically see in a bathroom next to the vanities. There's always an outlet with the vanity switch right next to it. So again, it doesn't really matter where you want to put that electric outlet and as far as that height is concerned. So something that you can determine what you need and what's comfortable for you. Now, getting close to last year, I think this is my close to last slide, is smart technology. I won't even dare get into it. There's so much good information on and so many different products available on the internet. I would just suggest you go and research it yourself. But there's a lot of products available that are voice activated, or you can use your smartphone to activate that. Anywhere from your doorbell, camera, to your temperature control for your house, remote locks, and then even smart appliances to regulate, to turn your appliances on and off and such. So just all sorts of wonderful things that are becoming available, and they just keep getting better and better every day. So things that you wish to consider. So lastly, what I want to do is share with you, if you go to AARP.org/HomeFit, and you do not have to be a member of AARP. They invite anybody to be able to download these do-it-yourself lists and stuff. But what's really nice is they have what they call the HomeFit Guide. And it talks about a lot of the things that I've just shared with you in this presentation this afternoon. So I would highly recommend that you get that and download that. It's a good source. Also available is they've got a little pamphlet of no-cost, low-cost ideas. And they've also got some checklists available that you can download, so you can go through each room to determine what maybe isn't working really well for you and what you can do to make that room more functional for you. Anyway, before I conclude here, believe me, I've only scratched the surface of all the things that are available to you and things that you can do to make your home more safe and adaptable and usable. So I would need another hour of your time. So anyway, but as you can see, there are a lot of things to consider. There are a lot of things online that are available to you. All you'd have to do is go aging in place products. Universal Design product is a Google, and gosh, boom. You'll be surprised of all the things that you can find, and great information, great checklists that you can find on top of that. And now, so one thing, lastly, what I want to talk about is, again, like I said, remodeling and stuff like that. I know that there's a cost factor to, to that, or to doing an addition, to remodeling your home. However, when you consider what it would cost to go into an assisted living facility or even a senior apartments, with going back to assisted living, even if you're able, you can get around and maybe you have some minor needs. But the thing is, if you can meet those needs in your home versus having to go to an assisted living facility. And assisted living facilities, when my parents, my father, when he ended up there, I mean, you're looking at costs, depending on your range of need, about $7,500 a month. Well, if you take that same amount of money, that money, and do the math, you can take that money and put it into your house. If that can keep you out of that facility for 1, 2, 3 years or longer, I think it's a benefit to it, because like I said, the whole idea is we want to stay in our home for as long as possible. And that's what we're trying to achieve here today. With that, I want to thank all of you for your patience. I know I went very fast through a lot of this material, so you can all grab your aspirin bottles after I'm done here. But again, thank you so much. And if there are any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them for you if I can. So I'll give it back to Stephanie.
Yeah, thank you. I don't see any in the chat. So if nobody has any questions, I just want to thank everybody. Is there a question?
I got a quick one for you.
Yeah.
So I work with Habitat for Humanity, and we do a lot of different bathroom remodels and stuff. And sometimes we have a lower budget, so sometimes we can't do everything. And so a lot of times we're coming into a bathroom with an existing shower surround on it, and they want to put grab bars in. But knowing that there's an inch between usually the stud and the shower surround, I haven't been able to find anything that you can actually install into the shower without compromising the shower surround itself, or making sure that the grab bar is properly installed. So I didn't know if you know of any products out there that you can do that with.
And I'll be honest with you, that's an excellent question. And I share the same problem that you have. The only thing I've been able to find, and maybe you've explored this yourself, short of you almost have to replace, I know I've seen it with the 5x3 shower pans, where they have the grab bars are integrated with the panels. I'm not sure if you've had if you've seen that or know what I'm talking about, but that I wish I could say, yeah, go to such and such, but I have not been able to find that and either. So
yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. It's the only thing I found is it's replacing the shower surround, adding blocking in, and then putting a new one in. So
correct, yeah. And there, like I said, I know, so that's kind of a dilemma, and it's one of those unfortunate things. And if you ever come across it, gosh, notify me, because I'd like to know myself. But you're doing it the only way that I've been able to come up with that solution too, and people have offered it to me. I just haven't found anything yet.
Okay, gotcha. Well, thank you.
The one thing I've used is if you can drill a hole and silicone a spacer against that, and then apply that to the stud so it doesn't pull that shower stall in. It's kind of a pain lining them up, but I've done that to get them so you don't collapse that shower stall.
Okay.
Oh, that's interesting. Thank you. Any other questions?
I am not hearing or seeing any.
Okay.
So yeah, thank you everyone for attending. Just a little reminder that September is Falls Prevention Month. And so I put our website and Facebook page in the chat. So feel free to like and share that. We run monthly campaigns, share events, and just share small tidbits about aging well at home. So that is all I have. I hope everyone has a good Wednesday, and thanks again for your attendance.
And thank you for having me. And again, thank you everybody out there for joining me this afternoon. I appreciate the time.
Yes, thank you, Jean.
All right, everyone have a great day.
Bye.
Bye now.